We are now live. Hello,
Oh, no.
the internet. My name is Dono Effect 117. Here today with some of my fellow D&D degenerates. Here to talk shop. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sorry, I left the kettle on.
That's a nice name.
Unfortunately, I already made the tea, so the kettle's off.
Well, see, that's its own issue.
Forgot to turn off the stove?
Yeah.
Let's continue with these introductions, guys.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking that we're supposed to be talking D&D, and I'm thinking somebody just rolled in that one.
Yeah, it was
he
me.
didn't roll a nat 1. He got 20 points below the designated mark. Nat 1 did.
Bro, what are
Critical
you
failure.
talking about? Nah, bro. See, I rolled a D3 and it fell off the fucking table.
Hold on.
At least it's not
You
a
got a
D4
2.
where you step on it.
So, he
I'm
didn't
just
get
wondering
that
if
one.
he
He
didn't
got
reach
two.
forward and slam his face into the...
Anyway,
Anyways, would you guys like...
Hey, there was D&D talking there.
anyway, I'm Juntarin. You can find me over at twitch.tv/Juntarin. I'm a VTuber and variety streamer.
And
I'm the mysterious stranger which no one knows.
Oh, God. Wait.
he is the quest giver.
Edge, go, Lord, go!
Oh, God.
My
I
edge
can
lord
think
powers intensify.
All I can think of is that fucking you know whenever you make a whenever you're like making an NPC that your characters is supposed to interact with, and the fucking players are like, okay, so what's your name? And you're like fucking digging through the book like random name generator, Edgelord McGee.
Oh, God.
Hey, don't you call me out like that.
My parents didn't like me when I was born.
Sir, I have the worst case of finding names, because I need 3 names, because I'm 3 kobolds in a trench coat.
Okay.
First,
Well,
last, and middle name.
Exactly. There you go, bro.
I think I covered this in our first episode, but the way that I come up with names is I'm lazy. So what I do is I research actual historical people, and I'm like, I need a trader, and maybe the trader's name is John Adams, because,
Good sir.
famous trader.
Good sir, we're doing introductions, so I didn't know your name was I'm Lazy.
No, that's my name.
Actually, the full
No,
title
you're the
is
ghoster.
Domino Effect 117, the unprofessional DM.
Perfect.
You're professional, good sir. You're more professional than DJ, at least.
Hey, hold on a minute.
Shots
Hold on.
fired.
No. Next session, you eating a lightning bolt.
There are rules between player, IRL, and in-game, so therefore breaking those rules make you less of a DM.
Oh, okay.
Shots fired.
Shots
Okay.
fired.
No
Hey,
artillery shots fired.
See, I see where this is going. And I raise you. Get this. You're gonna love this. I raise you a lightning AOE spell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lightning rod.
Ooh.
I know one of those.
If I may, real quick, just to finish up the introductions, we also have
Sorry.
everyone's favorite Slimacorn with a goldfish for a brain, DJ Tasm here with us, as well as our wonderful guest, Godchild.
Yes, a professional NPC.
Professional
NPC.
NPC. Hey, don't say that, okay? I've been on TikTok. I've seen those people.
You're not a...
Like,
No, you're less of an NPC than John Tarrin is.
Oh.
damn. Whoa. Shit. Holy fuck.
Hey,
Hey,
I said Domino at first, but no one called that one.
I was like, who's throwing fireballs here? Good God.
Of course, I don't have that spell unlocked yet. I'm only a sorcerer.
and
Bruh. I don't know.
anyway, for while
I
we
was
have
th-
Godchild here, he was wanting us to workshop something with him.
Oh,
Uh
let's
If you'd
do
like
it.
to give him the floor.
oh.
I have to find the floor first.
The floor is lava.
Well, if you're looking for the floor, it's, one foot behind the heel of the other and then just pull. And you'll find it.
Yeah.
I don't have heels on me, but okay.
Whoa.
You're not much of a man if
So,
you're going straight
Godchild.
in the heel. Okay, so I've had some issues where in certain games that I would run, where my players, they'll want to create their characters and they'll have their backstories, and it's all well and good, but then I have noticed that alignments don't mean jack. And it's like, okay, well, you're not role-playing your character according to the alignment that you had set for yourself. I've had players that wanted to do more of a true neutral or a chaotic neutral or even a lawful neutral or lawful good or just anywhere on the spectrum, really. But then they'll make decisions that is like completely outside of that alignment. And that's fair. I mean, everybody has that freedom to make those off-the-wall choices. But then it's like, okay, well, your alignment's going to change. And it's like, okay, whatever. And it makes no difference whatsoever. They continue to... So it's like, what other... Outside of, like, role-playing,
exactly
alignment
how you feel, man.
does nothing.
No.
Alright?
Well,
I would go off of personality types.
see,
And even then, it might not work. I've had a player in the past which was supposed to be, what was it? Something good. I can't remember if it was lawful or chaotic good or something like that. I think it was neutral good. Had a over anger issue and just downright ignore everything about that.
Oh.
So I did change their alignment because they were acting downright evil and kidnapping children.
Oof.
Oh, God.
They got angry and demanded me to change them back, so I threw them out of a floating airship.
Well, my
So-
thing is, I don't want to be like I want the players to have autonomy as much as possible and only have to punish as necessary. And so I thought maybe if I were to give a modifier to certain like buffs and debuffs to specific alignments, so that way it'll help or hurt your character depending on your alignment.
I know a game that actually does that, actually. Divinity Original Sin 1.
yes.
Really?
They're,
I thought they
based
stopped
on their,
doing that in the second game though.
I don't know if they did that in the second game, but in the first game there was personality types, and depending on which way you go down, gave you different bonuses.
They do it in the second one. They're just not as hardcore about it because it's one of the things that like it's basically like that. It's like an alignment shift every time, and it messes with your character's builds and stuff. Especially since like everything like
Well, you
everything is based on like a like whenever you play Baldur's Gate 3, right? Because they do it in Baldur's Gate 3 too.
Really?
Sort of. But they have the same system setup that they do in Divinity 1 and 2, where, like if okay, so Lizelle, whenever she's like trapped in her little thing and you're supposed to go save her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a paladin on your team that is not, if I remember correctly, Oath of Conquest. I think either of the other two. If when you save Lizelle, you attack the Tieflings to save Lizelle, the paladin, even if the paladin is across the map and has nothing to do with it, the paladin instantly breaks their oath.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
no, that's weird, but no, there should be rewards and consequences to go against that.
Well,
If you,
Yeah, that's what I'm
if-
saying. So, like, if you have to alignment shift, and it's like, if you have to alignment shift, there's
well, that might not work for everyone.
or like a switching. Yeah, so it's like,
'Cause if they're
how do I
playing
make
however
that
they
work?
wish to,
Because I want there to be
alignment-
consequences.
well,
Yeah, no,
I mean,
but if they if you do an alignment shift and they don't care, that means that a punishment or reward didn't do anything.
right. Well,
Like,
so
nothing.
see, what I do personally what I do is the alignment system. In the nicest way possible. The alignment system is archaic as shit.
Actually, I like Celeste's
just take the whole
version of
thing.
it.
Just take the whole alignment system. Take it. Okay, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to be real nice about it. You're gonna want to caress the alignment as you lift it up and throw it off the cliff.
Dude, one of my friends who's a DM made their own alignment system in which there's now 52 alignments.
No.
Dear Lord.
Oh yeah, no. I was going, hold on. Maybe a little bit simpler, guy. But no, I would suggest doing something similar to, again, Pathfinder and Celesta, I think it's called.
Yes, Celestia.
You know which one I'm talking about? The game which has the basic alignment system like D&D, but it has the personality arcs in between them.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I've never played it, so.
Actually, I have it, so I can screenshot the alignment system. Actually,
See,
Yeah, I haven't played it either.
My thing is like, before I did my very first, or I guess I can't say my very first. Before I started my second campaign as a DM, I did a lot of I watched a lot of like D&D videos and stuff to actually, not suck all the fun out of the room as a DM. And one of the people that I was watching literally was talking about the alignment system and was basically the whole reason that I threw it out. Because they brought up a valid point about the alignment system. Okay. So you walk into a room with
where do
one
I
of your
post this?
You walk into a room with one of your friends. You're in a bar, right? We're just going to use basic D&D setting, starting town. We're in the bar, right? Now, your character is, say, lawful good, right? Now, your friend is chaotic stupid. So, your friend is chaotic stupid. Your friend walks up to the bar, arm on the bar, pulls out his best bard impression, flirts with the tavern owner, right? He's trying to get that free drink in more ways than one, right? So, he does that. Now, the lawful in you, the lawful, good in you, says, okay, he's being, even if it is, only verbal, he's being aggressive, right?
He's being manipulative, which is like an attack.
Yeah. The lawful good in you says stop him, right? But if we look at it from an IRL standpoint, based on human nature, that's your friend. Chances are you're not going to do the lawful good thing. Chances are more likely, since this is your friend, you're going to at most take a neutral approach, try to break it up without, basically being like, all right, I'm gonna call the law on you. Because that's overkill in today's society. So just don't even use the alignment system, because the alignment system, I could change my mind tomorrow. I could be a completely different person tomorrow.
And you would be considered chaotic neutral.
Now, can I interject?
Yes.
But no,
So-
I have an idea.
So, with alignment, I think you're misunderstanding the term lawful, right?
Lawful is you following your own set
hold
of
on.
rules.
Exactly. But the thing is, lawful does not... Everyone always mistakes it as, oh, I follow the law of the land. That's
No.
not necessarily the case. Like, for me personally, if you were to take lawful as in he follows the law of the land, I am not lawful.
Mm-mm.
At least not completely.
Well, yeah,
Now,
it'll change every time you go.
If you were going to say, I'm lawful good because I have a strict moral and ethical code which I will never violate, then that's true. So in the example that you gave, it depends on your own morals and ethics whether or not you interject, because it's not illegal to flirt with somebody to get things out of them, right? But is it morally or ethically wrong? I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I think
Yeah.
that depends on the character. Because it's
I
like,
like Joe Cat's explanation for the alignments.
well, I'll give an IRL example. I walked into the DMV because I need to get some stuff done. First thing I do is I found the one person that looks absolutely miserable. Like, they look like they hate their lives. I walk up to that person, and I laid it on thick. We're talking honey thick. Alright?
Oh, you'd be new.
And I almost walked out of there with a driver's license when I originally went there just to get my ID card. This was back when I was like 18, 19. That's my point. Like, is that morally or ethically wrong to do that? I don't know. All I know is that I got what I wanted faster.
Yeah.
Well, if you got what you wanted faster, then you'd be out evil because you'd self-serving.
But is it evil though? Because he didn't technically
No,
do
no, no.
anything evil.
The basic definition, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Evil would
that-
be self-serving. Good would be selfless.
Well, yeah.
By the
Yeah.
most
See,
basic definition, because if you go off with the most common definitions, then it will change depending which country you're in, and it makes it almost useless as a system, like you would say.
yeah. That's basically what I was about to say. Is
You
because
need
it's
to have
basically
an
the same thing.
actual universal system where it means the same thing no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So you need to define your alignment system first.
Right.
As for punishments, I'd do something similar, a modified version of Pathfinder. You are a lawful good paladin. You just did something evil. Like, you did something of your own, whatever you did, right? And you take evil damage.
Well,
You just
But-
did something evil, and you take too much evil damage, you will turn neutral, then evil eventually.
wait, hold
So I can
on.
understand that working for like a cleric or a paladin because you're going against either maybe your deity or your oath. But say you're a rogue and by nature you're chaotic, neutral. But
Yes,
you decide to
true.
do some like Robin Hood stuff for good, for the sake of good. Does that still apply?
You become chaotic good. But no, it means it's changing your psyche. You're changing how you are to something else.
Yeah.
Damage
Honestly,
does not mean you're going worse and worse. I'm meaning you either get better or get worse.
yeah. I mean,
It's a type of taint, a corruption. You're twisting yourself into something else.
I could see
Yeah,
so-
I think a good example. I think
got
a good
the worst
example
word.
of that was the path that I ended up going down with Isha. I made sure to communicate with my DM, PM Dragon here rather well. That was what my goal was. All
Yeah.
I'm going to say is that spiral into insanity was incredibly fun.
Oh yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I'd be panicking, dude.
now, just to interject, because I love the paladin and cleric examples.
Damage you physically.
But here's the thing. If you are a cleric or a paladin to an evil deity, at least one that is viewed as evil, like Korn, or I guess Hades, depending on your
Saloon.
playstyle. Here's the
You
thing.
got
Hey,
Saloon. Don't forget
so-
Saloon.
Do a Lich God. They tend to be the best ones.
No.
Well,
That-
Cthulhu!
Like I said, that's not the point of what I'm about to say. My point is, if you are a cleric or a paladin following an evil deity, and then you do good, technically, you would fall into the same sort of issue if you were a good cleric or a paladin following a good deity. Because you are going
you take-
directly against the ideals and wishes of
From an
your
Oathbreaker.
divine.
That's
Yeah.
why Oathbreaker Necromancy doesn't make sense.
So,
Here's
That
the
makes all
thing
oath
about
good.
but no. But that's
Here's
what I'm
the
getting
thing
at.
a lot of people forget about. If I may, real quick, here's the thing a lot of people forget about paladins. They don't get their power from their god.
They get it from their
They
oath.
get their power from their oath.
Their sheer willpower. They are Green Lanterns.
Yeah, basically.
Oh,
They
lanterns
don't-
in general, yeah.
They don't
Yeah,
get it from a deity. A warlock and cleric both do.
Right. No, I get that. The point that I'm making is alignments in certain situations do matter. Because, especially in those situations, if you're a cleric or paladin to an evil deity, but you yourself are not evil, and you do a bunch of good deeds, your deity may punish you, and you would technically become an oathbreaker.
I would
Baldur's
say
Gate 3 with Will.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. That is a good example.
yeah, but no, I haven't seen it yet, so yeah. But
Oh, sorry, spoilers.
don't worry, I have a spoiler fanatic in the house.
Even
but no,
I've gotten that far
It
in
depends on the
Act
campaign.
1.
If you have a campaign
Sorry.
that has mechanics for an alignment, then you should do alignment. If you have almost no mechanics for an alignment, then you shouldn't have an alignment in there.
Now, when you say
That's my things I would
mechanics,
like there to be. Sorry, go ahead, Domino.
Then build mechanics. Make
when
a
when
part
you
of the
say
game where the-
mechanics
like,
for alignment, and this is just for anyone that might be listening to this, right? The way
Either-
I look at alignment is the same way Jack Sparrow kind of looks at the law. It's a guideline. It's not a hard and fast rule.
Oh, yeah,
But-
that's why you can do some things outside of your alignment once in a while, but if you keep doing
Right.
it, your alignment's meaningless to you.
Well,
The 15. That's on the other side. That's on
Jack Sparrow's a
16.
good guy.
That's on 16.
Yeah, see,
15 still got a truck in the way.
my thing is with that is like, it also depends really on like if you want there to be an alignment system, the easiest way to like enact,
Implement?
well, I'm not even gonna say implement. The easiest way to enact a alignment system super fast is to make NPCs get involved.
right.
So like with my campaign, right?
Which one?
The only one that I DM. With my campaign, the party technically doesn't have an alignment. They can do whatever they want to do, right?
Except
But
be emo.
but if they do that, they directly upset another NPC. And that NPC, may or may not be able to run the fade with them and beat the almighty tarnations out of them. And so it's like a there. I don't have an alignment system, but
You do a
I have
morality
the
system,
I have a morality system, and if
which
you
never really worked good. I can put it to Mass Effect as an example A.
well, it works for the campaign because nobody wants to make certain NPCs in the campaign upset for the fear that the NPCs will kill the party.
Your
If-
NPCs
Well, so that
can
creates
kill
good
you.
guidelines, but it doesn't keep the
God.
character true to themselves.
It
That's
does
my big thing.
it doesn't, but it's also like that fine line where it's like, instead of awarding your players for like, hey, you did a good deed, here's a cookie. Like you can do
Oh
that
no,
too.
I wouldn't mind. Like, I'm not trying to force a lawful good on everybody. What I would like is a system that discourages sudden alignment changes or constant alignment changes, but that would offer benefits and debuffs like together, buffs and debuffs together. Like you might get +1 to say Dex, but you take 1- to say Constitution or
I
something
wouldn't do
like
the
that.
core stats like that.
Yeah. If
Well,
you do
I'm
that,
saying
don't-
like
don't-
that.
Yeah,
well, honestly, I think giving buffs to core stats based on your alignment, I think you're opening a very, very bad door.
What if you
And I agree. I was saying as an
Yeah.
example, like you might get like advantage on something, but disadvantage on another, or like something. I would like to give a buff and a debuff
Hold up.
for
I
certain alignments. Go
got
ahead.
an idea. Don't do advantage or debuff. Don't do that one. That's too powerful. Do a decrease in DC. If you're an evil character and you keep going the evil route, you can talk to evil NPCs easier. Or convince them, or do something like that, where you decrease their DCs, but increase the DCs with good characters.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
that actually
strictly with,
sounds like
go ahead.
that actually sounds like a good way to implement it.
mhm.
But
Well,
what about
I-
like in combat or outside of like in
Combat?
NPC interactions?
Combat's a bit more finicky. Like, I would
Hmm.
say, personally, is with the alignment damage system, which used to be in D&D, where you would take more damage from good aligned people, but you deal more damage to good aligned people.
Well, so and it would also the only problem with that.
But combat's difficult.
Well, the only problem with like say implementing that system like that not the damage system, but like the being able to have like a buff, not necessarily advantage, but a buff to talking to like a certain alignment of of creatures or stuff like
Well,
that.
I was saying creatures as well, because if you are like a warlock of the devil and you have high evil, you can talk to devils easier.
Well,
I'm not saying you're going to get the good end of the stick, but
well, it basically where I was going with that is if you think about it, there is actually a really good example of exactly that in a very popular video game that nobody ever notices.
Which one?
Skyrim. Whenever you
Really?
go to the Thieves Guild, you go to the Thieves Guild and you're a scoundrel, right? You're a thief. You're a scoundrel. Blah blah blah. You get those kind of interactions. If
Yeah,
you're
but those are based off your skills.
well, if you talk like super like basically if you tell them that you're not willing to do XYZ Q72, they basically tell you that okay, cool. So the door's over there. Good luck. And stuff like that. But the problem is the only problem that I can see with that whole system, right, is if you do something like that, what happens to say the neutral party?
Well, we're talking about individuals. So technically, what you're talking about is opening doors. Okay. Okay, could you turn that down?
Well, no.
Thank you.
Like
No, someone was in the room. Anyway,
Ru-
we're crap. I lost my train of thought. You go first, then.
well, no, what I was saying is like for like if you do something like that, right? If you do something like that and you're like super good to fuck it. We're just gonna toss it out there. You're super good to this village of human NPCs because there's humans all over the place. Now those humans in that village and maybe surrounding villages that share trade routes with that village, you would get you would get like a I don't know plus.
That doesn't really mean anything towards an alignment system. That's more of just affinity towards a place. You can do that without any alignment in the game.
But what I'm saying is that is also alignment, because if you align yourself with them, they are more willing
Hold
to
up,
talk
you're
with you and
using-
trade with you.
The word might sound the same. You're using two different definitions.
How do you figure?
Because alignment
One's
is based off of your morality and personality. The other one is, yeah, I've joined this faction.
Right. But I'm saying, in the case of you guys talking about like, oh, for alignment, you'd be better at talking to demons. It's basically the same thing, right?
Here, for example, you're a person who does evil acts. A demon or a devil creature takes an interest in you and summons you to them, or has gone to you to make a deal with you because you seem interesting. That is indeed a method of opening the door. But you had no knowledge of them, nor did you attempted to even contact them.
Right, but you would still get there. You would still. That's what I'm saying.
One is passive, the other one is active.
Right, but you can't have one without the other.
You can have one without the other.
No, because if I basically was to go full on murder hobo and just start blowing up villages, right?
That means you're actively doing something.
You're actively being evil. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Not
now
really
you
evil, you're just being stupid. I
Well-
don't like how people disassociate blowing up people to evil.
but what I'm saying is that okay, now
It is evil.
the demon summons you. The reason the demon summoned you was because you blew up all the villages. But now there is also the trade-off, right? And this is the part where like the D&D alignment system basically takes a very long drive off of a very short cliff.
Well,
Okay.
that's why we're trying to build a new one and not use the basic one.
Well,
That's why we're doing suggestions.
because literally, no. What I'm saying is, what I said, you cannot have one without the other. Okay. Now, are you telling me, as a DM, are you telling me that if this person that just did these heinous acts, got summoned by the demon, blah 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 blah, are you telling me that if they go to the next village isn't going to know absolutely
Sure.
anything about them?
You actively destroyed places. You actively became an enemy of the villages.
Which
As a DM, you can choose not to implement either active or passive. That's why I said you don't need both. Because you can be a DM and actively turn off one.
but then you're basically taking RP and throwing it out the window. And D&D is RP.
It is
Like,
RP.
It's
but
RP
that
plus
depends on
combat.
how you implement it. I've seen DMs implement only active, and I've seen other DMs activate only passive.
I've only seen people do both. And I believe that is the only way to do it.
It's the best way, but in order to figure out how to implement them, you need to separate them first.
But by separating them, you butcher the whole concept.
Well, sir, that's the point. You butcher it to learn the mechanics.
But
I'm telling you how I learned how to do these things. Like, they
But-
weren't long campaigns. They were like maybe 3 to 4 sessions long, but that's how I learned to do passive and actives.
right, but
I'm
like,
not saying they're good to do it only that way. Do both.
but yeah,
but-
but what I'm saying is
How does it destroy the alignment system?
because you're going against, like, okay, I don't know how to break it down in a way that is below morality. So
Sir, you've done horrible, atrocious acts. You are indeed evil, and the good paladins came after you. I
right,
don't know how that just broke the alignment system.
it didn't break the alignment system. But what I'm saying is listen, the way that you explain it, you basically took a scalpel and you didn't slice, you stabbed the alignment system and drug the knife through it.
Yes, how else are you supposed to break down a system that's broken to fix it? You take it apart.
But you can't separate those two things because
Well, yes, that's why
But-
you test and experiment and determine which ones work and which ones don't. If you remove one and the whole system crumbles, that means it's a necessary system that needs to be in. Therefore, you can analyze and subject yourself to other things so you can determine what can be cut out and what can be improved.
but the alignment system being cut down any more archaic than it is, cut down. Without just actively being like, okay, you
Sir,
started
my
as...
alignment system that I implement is more complicated than the basic one. I like my complications. I don't like simplifications.
But what I'm saying is, like, I feel like I'm talking to a wall. Because you and I both are very polarized in our opinions. Because you overcomplicated the system. I threw the whole system out because I think the alignment system is
By your
trashed.
definition, you overly simplified it. You just said those systems can't be cut out, but then you threw it all out into the trash.
No, I said you can't. You can cut it out because I threw it out because it doesn't make sense because it's archaic. What I said is
no,
you
it is
cannot
archaic.
break it. You cannot break it down any more than it's already broke down. It doesn't work anymore.
No, you
If
you can break it down farther.
If you take morality, which is exactly what you said you did, if you take morality and you remove morality, there is no more alignment system. It ceases to exist.
It becomes too fluid,
no.
actually.
Alignment systems only half morals. Because the morality system would be good and evil.
No,
Lawful and chaotic has nothing to do with morality.
Yes, it does. Because
Actually, yeah. Because
Exactly.
if you
Thank
choose
you.
to follow certain ethics, because you have ethics and you have morals. Ethics is lawful and chaotic. Morals is good and evil. And you have the choice to pick the path you choose and what you choose to believe, whether that which is good, that which is evil. The problem, and I agree with how, like, if you don't really want to deal with the alignment, just throw it out, because at the end of the day, it's so daggum fluid. What is good? What is evil? Who is to say this is lawful? Like what the Domino was saying. Who's to say what is truly lawful and what is chaotic? And so it becomes so fluid. It literally just comes down to the DM, and the DM becomes the bad guy, and it's just a messy ordeal. Which is kind of why it's like.
Well, like
but even if you, as a DM, throw out the alignment system, your players are still going to play within an alignment system.
No, I don't recommend throwing out the alignment system at all.
I don't.
That's
I
where
like this.
that's where me and Shadow disagree. But because the alignment system is supposed to serve as a guideline. Now, me knowing what my players' alignments are, because I make all my players give me a copy of the character sheet, or I look through them,
to
right?
calculate how they're going to act in the future.
Well, here's the thing: if they start acting outside that alignment, I will actually have the NPCs or other things react to them differently. So I kind of incorporate that concept of if you start doing evil deeds, like you were saying, evil NPCs are going to notice you more. And good NPCs or NPCs that were neutral might not be neutral anymore. They might not want to be around you, whatever. And now I don't do the whole one decision changes your alignment. Now, if it's a major decision,
like kidnapping children and throwing their parents to enemies that are slaughtering them.
Yeah.
So literally,
but hold on, let me finish. So, if it's a major decision, right? Let's say your D&D party captured a bunch of enemies, right? A lawful character would probably say, hey, you know what, we're taking prisoners of war, right? A lawful good character typically would be say, okay, we're not going to kill them, they're defenseless, they surrendered. Well, maybe your character may be lawful good or was lawful good, but these specific enemies did something in your backstory, perhaps killed a loved one, or did something where you decided, you know what? Nah, none of you are going to make it out alive.
Kind of like Oath of Vengeance, sort of.
Kind of. Now, the reason why that I like including those little tidbits is a major act like that could shift an alignment. Because you're not just kind of doing a little thing against your alignment, you are complete, 180.
That's what I was
Really-
referring to earlier to the
Yeah.
whole damage to the alignment, the damage system.
Right,
Oh.
but I feel like you have to differentiate small acts and big acts. That's a big part.
Oh yeah, no.
It's kind of like one of those. A bunch of little acts could add up and break the alignment, sure. But it also depends on, because like you said, it's fluid, right? That's why I think it's really important to get with your players one-on-one and make sure, hey, what does your character believe in? What does your character view as good and evil? Because think about it this way, right? I use this example. Humans call vampires and demons monsters because in the movies and the books, they hunt and kill us, right? So they're monsters. But
Yeah.
when we go and eat and kill a cow, we don't call ourselves monsters. At least most of us don't.
The cows do.
The cows probably do. They're
No,
probably
they
like,
say moo.
right?
Yes, and the evil moo is coming to get us.
But that's what I'm getting at. It's one of those things where good and evil is, and this goes into a little bit of philosophy, but it's the idea that good and evil don't exist. What is good and what is evil is based entirely on the perception of the person or persons viewing the act, right?
Right.
There are
I
certain
know, I've
things.
seen this exact argument before.
There are certain things that I think most people can agree upon, right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to go into them because I'm not trying to get banned off of Twitch.
We're-
But there
yeah,
are
we're not
certain-
talking about politics.
There are certain things that we can all agree, hey, you know what? Throw that individual in a wood chipper. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's plenty of things where it's like a gray area. Like, yeah, it's bad, but is it bad? You know what I mean?
That's why I allow the gray to happen in my
Well,
games.
see,
I have a lot of gray.
I think the issue there is when I say that, like in my campaigns, I throw out the alignment system.
That means
so
I can eat people, and it's not
No,
evil.
no, it doesn't. But what it means,
There's no consequences outside of what the NPCs laud on you.
yeah,
Which
yeah. Like,
I-
so
which-
if you break the
Like y'all
law,
are leaders, there's no laws.
Well, so actually, I was sitting there thinking while you guys were talking. What if I were to kind of combine the ideas and utilize something similar to what BioWare and Lionsgate did, in that depending on your alignment, your actual physical form will either corrupt or take on a more
As
livelier
long as
shape?
It doesn't look as hideous as Lionsgate, because
Uh,
it looks
I mean,
horrible.
if I would say you could do that, and it would be really cool if all of your players agree to be "quote unquote" altered, right?
Because pure evil
Yeah.
should be able to look
But-
pretty.
Oh, see, so that's what I was getting at though. Like, is like so
Yeah,
as a person, like on a day to day, right? I
Yeah.
am a true neutral person. I honestly do not get I don't spill tea. I don't get involved in tea making. I literally I go to work, I come home, I play video games, I talk on Twitch, I go to bed, right?
yeah,
In-
yeah.
all your
that's
evil
true.
deeds are done in video games.
Right. But at the same time,
All of his war crimes.
now let's say tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow because this is the thing. This is the big this is the big shebang that caused me to basically quote unquote throw out the alignment system, right? So I've been like that my entire life. I do not, get involved in anything that has nothing to do with me, right? So whenever on my 18th birthday, right? On my 18th birthday, I got arrested. So
Oh crap!
So on my 18th birthday, I got arrested. Now, the thing that I got arrested for should have made me, quote unquote, evil or chaotic, right? But after that day was over, I went back to the exact same way that I was. So
Well, yeah, that's why Domino was talking about that earlier about doing minor things when it have changed your alignment.
Well, not,
but
not
it
to
wasn't a
mention,
minor
it did,
thing.
that would
That's the
come-
problem.
Oh,
Well,
come
did it
on.
affect your psyche? Did it damage your own soul?
Answer.
No, but Huh?
Exactly.
no, like it literally it affected those around me and shifted what they thought of me.
Oh yeah.
And because it shifted what they thought of me, technically, via the alignment system, right? My alignment should have shifted, but it didn't because I slept just fine
If
that
you
night.
do an alignment system based on other people's perception, it'll be so chaotic there is no point of having it.
But that's what the
Yeah.
alignment
None.
system is.
No, it isn't. Not the 5e or any other system because it would be too complicated for any person to implement that. They tried to implement that into a game and it broke the game.
But see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because
They can perceive you as such, but that's their own opinion, not
But-
your true alignment.
but
Yeah,
see,
the perception would be the perception that you're describing would be more akin to reputation than alignment.
but by that knowledge, right? So perfect example.
Good
I
luck.
got it. So I'm playing, let's say, a lawful good paladin,
Yeah.
right? So I am making an absolute warpath through Rome,
Those are called crusades.
and my flag is Bologna, right? So I'm doing all of this for Bologna, right?
Well, wait, is that a deity?
Yes, it is a deity.
I don't know that.
So I'm
offhand.
doing an absolute warpath through Rome, and Domino will probably get this because Domino likes mythology.
Yes, Bologna is
So-
the goddess of war.
Okay.
So I
Thank
run in, right? I run in to a village, and I just start murking people, right? I start absolutely murking everyone in
Well,
sight.
murder doesn't equal war, sir.
No. Hold on.
Okay.
I murk everyone in the village, right? Now, by D&D standards, by the quote-unquote alignment system, right? I have just created a heinous as fuck act.
Yeah.
My alignment should shift to lawful, evil, chaotic, evil, something evil, because I just obliterated an entire village. But, me as a person, I believe I was doing my goddess's work.
Yes, and by your goddesses, you would be lawful good.
No,
But
by
that's
my
the
own
thing.
morality, I would be lawful.
But that's the thing. Because Bologna was the goddess of war. War doesn't care who wins.
No, it doesn't.
War is only concerned with
Conflict.
conflict. Now, history is written by the victor, and I don't want to get too political, but I mean we can look at different countries, right? You know what? I'm going to date it back like 60, 70 years, just so I don't get flagged for saying something. But let's look at let's look at World War II, right? And when we were fighting against a certain party that existed in the 1940s that really liked the color red, this
And black.
particular party is remembered as pure unadulterated evil, right?
Yeah.
Now,
And no, he means just red, by the way.
No, there was red and black. There was black, red, and white in there.
let me finish.
It
So,
was primarily red.
they were remembered as being pure unadulterated evil, which all their acts were unadulterated evil. But from that evil came insane advancements in medical technology and science and all of those things, right?
Communication,
Which-
rockets, everything.
Well, here's the thing, which all of us nowadays benefit from, right?
Yep.
So,
Well, an active evil can
so
create good things.
history remembers them as evil. But the thing is, we in society today are literally reaping the benefits of that evil. And then
Right.
you look
Well,
at...
an even better example that without so much censorship is the Civil War. We learned about penicillin because of the Angel Glow, or I think is what it was called, where our boys were basically down in the marshes wounded, and they started noticing that their wounds would glow alongside the fungal area, the fungal stuff that's in the area, and they realized that the fungus was healing their wounds. I.e.
I did
penicillin.
not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That's pretty cool.
So the reason why I self-censored there is I'm, one, not trying to give evil people any sort of platform / kudos, but it's more to drive home the point.
I got another example that is on long line with that one.
Okay.
The person who created dynamite was trying to make a safe and easy method of mining.
You know what's funny?
Good thing.
The path
They
to
were
hell is
trying to
paved
create
with good
something good,
intentions.
which turned into horrific acts after. Or was it gunpowder? Was it either gunpowder or...
I think it was gunpowder.
No,
'cause
no,
TNT
no,
was
gunpowder was a
developed after.
byproduct because they were trying to make immortality. That
Yeah,
was something else.
But see, that's what I'm saying though. By the alignment system in its base form, all of these things, right? We have used the word evil, right? In the history books, we have used the word evil. But the people doing the act do not see themselves as evil. So the alignment system instantly and immediately gets yeeted off of
But
the cliff.
that's you're still using other people's perceptions. I'm using the alignment system as you are. That's why I said get a proper definition of what it is.
So-
Basic and simple.
so-
Good, selfless. Evil, selfish.
Now-
Lawful, you have your own set of rules.
Now-
Chaotic, you ignore anything.
Following Shadow's train of thought, because no, that's a good point. Following Shadow's train of thought, this is something that I drive home when it comes to helping DMs write villains. Because here's the thing: a villain does not view themselves as a villain. The best villains in fiction have done whatever. The reason why they're memorable, or the reason why people like them, is because regardless of how heinous their acts are, there is a moment where you're like, you know what? He has a point. Like Thanos. Thanos is a good recent example, right?
I would actually use Doctor Doom as the best example.
That's fine. Regardless, the point that I'm making is they don't view themselves as a villain. They might call themselves a villain because the world has told them they are, but they are 100% committed to whatever their goal is, and they don't care how they achieve it. Their point is, I need to do this because it betters either myself, the world, the planet, the galaxy, whatever.
Oh,
right?
Sandman from Spider-Man 3. He was a bad guy by choice because he had to save his daughter.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So
really good one.
that's one of those examples where it's like, yes, what he did is bad, i.e., quote-unquote evil, but here's the thing. I think most people would probably do something similar, if not more extreme, if it was, say, their family members on the line. You know, it's one of those things, like the Joker. I'll get on my little edgelord moment right here. When the Joker said, I don't remember if it was in the movies or if it was just in the comic books, but he basically says something along the lines of, everyone is good until they have like one bad day, right? Where it's like you could be the most law-abiding citizen, but the moment things don't go according to plan, everyone loses their mind. And
I think it was the Joker that said that, as a matter of fact.
That's
It is
that's
the
what I'm
Joker.
saying. So, he had a point. He's not wrong.
Everyone is.
So like we see real life examples of that all the time. Like when there's a storm, right, that hits, or a disaster that hits, you immediately like a good example was Katrina, right? Hopefully I don't get struck down for using this reference.
Nope, you won't. You're good.
Well,
Okay.
you're good.
Okay, so Katrina was a good example, right? Because you had both sides. You had people going out in the thick of it trying to help people selflessly, but then you also had other people that the media referred to as like vultures and stuff that showed up with truckloads of water and was selling them for ridiculous amounts of money. Or like with the recent disease that shall not be named, toilet paper became basically gold, and people were hoarding it and selling. That one dude got popped for like selling particular face coverings and things that go on your hands for ridiculous markups, right?
Exactly.
Be
I don't know why
honest.
you're censoring those words, good sir. You should at least censor toilet paper if you're gonna censor the rest.
Well, I wasn't
honest,
sure
though,
what
with,
Twitch would get mad about, so
Latrine paper.
I'm just being safe. That's all I'm trying to do.
I'll be
Yeah, I know.
honest though, with all of that, one thing I can say is people in my line of work, we were struggling to keep up with the demand. So were the factories. So
No, I understand that, but what the point that I'm making is I like using those examples, especially in a campaign setting, because you have multiple types of people viewing the same event very differently. You have those that will seek to profit. And you have those that will literally do whatever they have to do to help others. Like
Well, that-
another
That's why
example.
you don't use other people's perceptions to determine your
I-
alignment. You should.
But you
use your
can't.
DM.
You can't determine someone's alignment without that. Because
yes, you can.
No,
Okay,
because-
okay, so I just thought of
Yes,
something. I
yes,
just
right.
realized something.
Hold on, guys. Let Godchild speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to interrupt, but I realized
No, you're good.
we are getting mired in philosophy of good, of ethics and morals. And that's what
Exactly.
we're getting mired in. When the question that I put forth was, when my characters are not being true to themselves, I am a lawful good guy, but now I'm over here doing something that is selfish and evil.
Yeah,
You know,
that's why.
selfish and
No, no.
and so how do I corral that and either make the character more reflect the new changes in their attitude, and yes, one bad day does not mean that they're a bad person. So maybe one, but if I see a pattern, like
Yeah.
I see a pattern, my character's a lawful good paladin, but then they break their oath, then they're murdering, they become a murder hobo, and I'm just supposed to, okay, now you're a morally, you're a chaotic evil character.
Hold up.
That's it?
Hold
I'd
up.
like to.
Hey, Godchild,
Yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned breaking their oath. That's an instant shift to chaotic evil, if I'm not mistaken.
It is
Depends.
It is
Depends
not.
on how you implement it, because if you do it the basic 5e, yeah, basically. But if you already did an oath of an evil god and you broke that, there's no mechanic within 5e to explain it.
But also, I can kill that whole thing with Baldur's Gate 3. So, the Oathbreaker, the actual Oathbreaker, the one that shows up and basically tells you, congratulations, you're a prick, right? That guy, did anybody actually listen to his story?
No, because I haven't
I didn't
played
play
a paladin and or broken an oath yet. So
So, basically, slight spoilers, he's not evil.
Yeah.
He's not evil. He is not evil at all. He's almost as innocent and like honor bound as Scratch. Like
Who?
after listening to his
The dog.
story, after listening to his story, I want to take like Lae'zel or somebody and replace them with Oathbreaker, because he did a quote unquote act of evil, which broke his oath, because his oath is actually to the one that he serves. That's where he got his paladin powers. Is he was an oath of, I think, conquest for the person that he served. What he did, he broke his oath, but he doesn't regret it at all. Specifically because of what happened that led to him breaking his oath. Honestly, I would say that before he broke his oath, he was chaotic evil.
Yeah.
After he broke his oath, I would honestly say he, as an oath breaker, he's lawful good.
Probably.
Or at
It would
least
make
true
sense.
neutral.
It would make sense for a lawful good paladin breaking their oath to turn chaotic evil, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's why I
honestly.
don't care for the whole Oathbreaker mechanic in 5e, because it's so nothing.
I feel like it should be up to the
Yeah.
DM to decide the alignment, how far it shifts. Because I mean,
Yeah,
you could
that's
break
how
an
I-
oath
That's what I was saying earlier.
for a good reason.
Because
Yeah.
you don't have opinion upon everyone else deciding your alignment. It should, by the DM, it should be the DM. By the game, it
Which
should
is-
be the game master who's determining what is good and what is evil.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, kind of like how, humanity's morals are all over the place. But when you
Uh-huh.
look at certain things that are ironclad, like laws, which are ethics, or religion, which has certain ironclad morals to them, now you have guidelines and borders. But with humanity, it's all over the place. If you don't have law and you don't have religion, you don't have morals, you don't have ethics.
Well, that's why
So-
I don't put
Well,
alignment to different creatures.
Here's the
and
thing.
whatnot.
Here's the thing, and I will disagree with you, respectfully, Godchild. And the reason why I disagree is I have nothing against religion. I have nothing against, laws in general. But there are plenty of laws which are completely unethical or immoral.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, here's the thing. I use this as an example. So,
Government.
let's say I'm gonna use let's say school. I mean, we all remember elementary school to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Those
Be careful
kids.
with that one, because if we
No,
got any Gen Zs or Gen Alphas listening in, they're not going to have a clue what we're talking about.
I had to learn how to type.
I'm just gonna use this as an
Sorry, go
example. So when a young child, and this is before you introduce into any kind of concept like laws or religion, right? We're talking young, right?
Well, actually,
Kid falls down, skins his knee, he's crying. Other kid sees this, has empathy, comes over to help him up, right? Well,
Okay.
that's my point. You don't need laws or religion to be good, objectively
Yeah.
speaking.
That's technically, by a philosopher standing, good and evil comes from something else.
Now, here's the thing, right? And there's also different traits that humans have, which I think make for very compelling sort of story elements that you can incorporate. So when it comes to that, right, just following this train of thought, when you are faced with, to answer your original question, like how do I curtail them? Well, the way that you curtail them is, one way you could do it is have their actions reflected back at them, right? Cause and effect. Not necessarily like alignment shifts and all that, but literally cause and effect. Let's say, because I've done this a few times in my campaigns, where I make it look like one thing, but really it's something else, right?
Really? The bait and switch?
Kind of, but not really. Yeah, I mean, it is a bait and switch, but it's not. So, because it's built on people's preconceived notions, right? The dude acting kind of shady, that's probably the bad guy. Let's go see what he's up to, type thing. And then it turns out he was actually the good guy the whole time. Or, like, I I might have a character decide, hey, I'm just gonna assume that this monster is a threat. And so I'm going to just deal with this monster, get rid of it, right? Well,
You're referencing directly the campaign that we just finished.
right. Well, here's the thing. You know, no, by traditional D&D standards, that act may or may not be evil. In fact, in that D&D campaign that I'm referencing, there was no laws protecting monsters, like, at all. There was no legal punishment for slaughtering them, like, at all. Nothing. Nothing that said that, you know, you're going to be arrested for this, you're whatever. So, if you're playing a lawful good character, by, I guess, traditional D&D standards, you didn't break the law? But morally, that's where you get to that point. And that's where the character's individual code of ethics comes into play. Because if it's against your code of ethics... Huh?
Well, you kind of contradict. I do apologize for interrupting, but it's like what I'm hearing is kind of contradicted what you said earlier about needing a alignment, an alignment set to your characters, because then they have set guidelines. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because it comes down to case by case basis of the character interactions, and how the DM plays things out. And so it's like the morality at that point system does not matter. It comes down to how the DM wants things to play out, and how, cause and effect, as you say. Morality and ethics don't have any part really in it, outside of what the DM says is so. And so assigning morality or assigning alignment is kind of a moot point at that, if I do say so myself.
What he's getting at is, like, you encounter, for example, Session 0, we encountered a mimic, right?
All right.
Logic dictates that mimics are evil, therefore we should slaughter it, right?
Huh?
Okay.
That's how most people view mimics, automatically. This mimic went on because rather than acting like that, we chose to give them a chance. This mimic went on to not only become a valuable member of the team, but also ended up becoming the spouse of the paladin.
Yeah. It's a whole
Which again,
thing.
so the whole alignment system kind of goes out the window because of an objective decision.
Well, the alignment system doesn't go out the window at all. It's just changing the player's view on what it is, because they have their own perception in which he's messing with that changes it. The alignment system doesn't go out the window.
Right. So
yeah, what he does is he changes it to where each individual creature has its own alignment. They're not all stuck to, for example...
That's what I do as well, because a demon, yes, is probably chaotic evil, but you might find one that's lawful good. It's still a demon.
Exactly.
What
Well,
you're
that's
born
where
as
that's
does
where it
not
gets sticky,
determine
because
your alignment.
well, that's where it gets sticky, because with monsters, they don't have sentience typically. They are ran specifically by instinct. So if you give sentience to a monster, then you have an alignment.
Most creatures that have no sentience are true neutral.
So here's my rebuttal to that. Okay? Because
Because he just
if you're
described
going to say that...
creature that someone married to, therefore it had sentience.
no,
So
but
go into darker paths.
here's my rebuttal to that. Like, the whole creatures don't have morality and ethics. If, let's say
Cruel bitches.
I pretend to fall down and pretend like I'm hurt, my dog will immediately come up to me to make sure I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that could be a part of pack and whatnot. That will go into a debate on sentience and instincts.
That's a good point.
That goes down a lot deeper path.
Oh, okay. How about...
That gets us mired in ethics and morality again, when the question is, how do we make a system that keeps our characters true to their alignment if we decide to keep the alignment system in play, and then how should we make it work?
No,
unfortunately...
I don't know if this fixes anything, but how I do something I don't know the concept to this part, but if you do something right, there's a consequence. I usually add things to their personality, bond, ideal, and flaws. I usually just dump shit into their flaws primarily. But
yeah, but then they don't look into it. They don't bother with it. They continue doing what they're doing, and just because it's on the character sheet doesn't mean they play with it.
Depends on the player. Because if you got good role players, they'll play with it. Like John Tarn, for example, good role player, does it nicely. But I have another player who is
chaotic by nature.
No,
not chaotic. I wouldn't describe as chaotic. Like, for example, my worst one would be Mr. P-Brain over there. Like he had a flaw where he got easily angered and never implemented it, even if I purposely pushed it. Okay, just ignored it. Like, so his punishment was doing a bunch of different things, including burning a cart. Which now I have a reputation of destroying people's carts, despite Kirkhock's cart is never been touched.
Be careful with that name. You might get striked.
just call him Chicken Man.
Chicken Man.
I
guess about a rooster, man.
Well, the way that
I'm out of time.
oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to dip. So if you guys wouldn't mind, maybe next week we could pick it back up, or just if you guys want to continue the conversation, let me know how it goes. If not, hey, that's all right. I definitely got some really good ideas on. Well, not to mention just the whole philosophical talk was actually very deep, and I enjoyed it. But I did get some ideas for how to handle that. So thank you guys.
Of course.
You're welcome. I don't know if we did help or not. we went down a very, very deep philosophical.
I'm honestly surprised by that. But thank you for joining us, Godchild. And if you'd like to hang out and just listen to the rest of the podcast, you can find us over on twitch.tv/dominoeffect117.
Sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
All right, man. Be good.
See you later.
Good morning, Twinkie. How would you feel like doing a philosophical conversation?
Oh, you throw a curveball at me, huh?
You're gonna just throw philosophy at him the moment he shows up? Today we are going to discuss the ethics of.
This video has been fucking chaos.
The conversation was about how to get players to work with their alignment and otherwise get them to roleplay how they built their character, not do whatever they wish. Well,
right.
Kind of.
No evil characters. End of discussion.
Honestly,
I mean, technically, you're not wrong.
Honestly, at the
Just
end
go
of the
down
day,
evil, do whatever you want.
Honestly, I think at the end of the day, Twinkie here is one of the better people to have join us to have this discussion.
Now,
Because they're one of the best role players I've ever had.
I don't remember
I'd say he easily overshadows me on
Specifically
how well the
Mooney,
roleplay does.
not the turtle. Turtle's a
I
iffy.
like the turtle. He was a himbo.
I know,
turtle
but
wasn't-
really play him.
The turtle wasn't exactly around long enough to develop as a character, so.
The moment you
And
start
you
playing
turned
Moon,
into a
instant, I love you.
now,
Anyway, Domino was trying to say something, so.
No, I
Was that
don't-
Domino?
I don't know who suggested it, but the NPCs reacting, that's honestly probably the best way to I don't want to use the word punish, because I don't like punishing my
Well,
players.
If you're doing a stealth character and no one's ever found out, how would the NPCs know of it?
Well, here's the
That
thing.
would fix the horrible rogue issue.
Right. I get what you're saying. But here's the thing, right? It's one of those, that you could, it depends on the DM, it depends on the player. But let's say they're trying to hide their act, right? They did something incredibly messed up or evil, right?
Like sneezing in a crowded room.
Or farting in an elevator.
With context, you'll understand what I'm meaning.
So, let's say they did something evil,
I blame
right?
Laura.
And they're trying to cover it up. well, maybe an NPC is kind of suspicious because that, maybe the PC let something slip. They're like, oh, I was with so and so, and then so and so was like, no, you weren't.
Oh,
You know?
earlier I was talking about the whole decreasing and increasing DCs and
Yes.
whatnot. As a role play system, you can put off an off-putting aura. Like you're a
Right.
different person, so there's a ominous aura around you, and you can would implement into what you're saying and get more role play into it.
Well, and if you want to include the sciencey part of it, I'm really, like I said, I'm really into science and philosophy, which is kind of a weird combo, I know.
Oh no, it's a good combo.
But okay, so there's this thing that people have, right? It's called mirror neurons. It's hypothesized. It's not, they're not saying it's fact, but there's a hypothesis that human beings possess a certain level of telepathy, meaning the ability to read someone else, right? Now,
Empathy, technically, empathic.
Yeah.
well,
Hey, telepathy is reading mind.
okay.
Empathic is what you're referring to as.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, right? Now, it's hotly debated because a lot of people are just saying, oh, it's just micro expressions and things that people pick up on, right? Like crowd reading.
There's that factor, but then there are those who actually can feel
Right,
feelings and things. I have that unfortunate ability. I can't read faces.
right.
I'm
Well,
horrible at charades.
like,
And then you got weird cases like me where I can't read what's going on around me, but I can project my emotions onto those around me.
right. But
They're the inverse of that.
what I'm getting at, right, playing into the sciencey portion of it, is when you are like, okay, have you ever had someone walk into a room and then immediately felt uncomfortable just because that person was there?
Yes.
Like that person didn't say anything, didn't do anything, but you
Never watched-
immediately feel uncomfortable just because they're there.
Domino.
Yes.
Ever watch Hunter x Hunter?
I've seen an episode here or there.
Okay, well, there's an example in that show about bloodlust, okay, where you give off your hunting prowess and whatnot, and if you don't hide it, everyone in the area can feel it. It's like when a predator is nearby and you have this off feeling and whatnot. That's empathic.
Right. Okay. So taking that concept, right,
Okay.
which this is to answer Godchild's question of how to incorporate that in his campaigns. It's more or less a gradual shift, right? If you do
Yeah.
more and more evil, people, at least the more astute people, or the more, or the people that can read you better, right? Let's say like other rogues or investigators for like a police force or something, that maybe they've dealt with a bunch of different criminals and they can kind of pick up on these little slight details. Like, you ever heard the phrase, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? Right?
Yes.
That's one way you can incorporate it. Now, on one hand, you, as a DM, you're kind of put in a tough situation because you kind of got to know a little bit about everything
Yeah.
to a certain extent. Like, I think the reason why people enjoy my campaigns isn't because I'm some stellar DM. I'll be straight up with you. I don't think I'm the most amazing DM to ever exist.
It's your chaoticness and your willingness to work with your players.
Right. Well, the other thing is the reason why my NPCs feel more three-dimensional is because what I do with them, and this is something Godchild can actually incorporate, is so what I do is, one, I name my characters very specifically. Like, if I have an NPC that's only supposed to serve one purpose, like, say, die tragically for whatever reason, I might name him after an historical figure that died tragically for insert reason, and then kill said NPC the exact same way that the historical figure died, right?
Yeah, no, it's a nice simplification. It's not what I would personally do, but yeah.
Well, for me, it acts like a notebook. Basically, it tells me this character is supposed to do something, and then I keep notes like, let's use
Well, I
Caesar.
think it works well for you is because you're more of a history buff than I am.
Right.
I can't remember most of those things. I remember more of like I do with more mythology. Like there's a spring in my game, which is basically I based it off of the Lion Witch in the Wardrobe with the spring where it turns people to gold if you touch the water.
That's actually really. What was that? Caspian?
Yeah, Prince Caspian.
Mm-hmm. That
The
was a good
spring
book.
that turns anything that touches it into gold. I added that in because I like making reference to other things, and goddamn, the party managed to get a bottle of it and ran off with it. They still have an instant kill gold bottle.
So, okay, but to answer Godchild's question, I think the best way to do it would be have the NPCs react to it, right? Not just that, but let's say that he
You
has.
have your players react to it as well.
Well, let's say that. I was going to get to that. So let's say that you have a player that doesn't really like doing RP, but you have other players in the party that are actually really good at it. What you could do is simply have the players that are good at RP sort of RP around that player, if that makes sense. Like, not trying to.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm not visualizing what you're saying, unfortunately.
Okay, so let's say you have a lawful good character, like in his example, that's constantly doing things that should. Oh, hello, Diggy. What's up? Sorry. Let's say you have a lawful good character that.
Actually, All Might might be a good example.
What happened?
All Might?
Okay. Well, let's say a lawful good character that's doing evil things, right? And he's not quite playing to his alignment. Let's say that you have a, let's say even like an evil character, right, in the party, or a more evilly aligned character. You could have that character, like, say things in character to nudge the lawful good character, like, hey buddy, this isn't like you, what's going on, basically play into the RP.
I have a player in my game which nudges the characters personally better to a better, more righteous route.
Oh, you have the
Unfortunately, you are the player who's pushing them more towards a righteous route, Mr. Corgi.
Hey, in my defense, none of my crimes are crimes because I believe I believe I'm being the goodest boy. All right, I don't know what to tell you.
I know, but you are a good example. Like, you are downright horrifically evil. Like, or you're horrifically good, but you're doing the most horrific acts.
Honestly, I didn't even think about my character as an example, but he is a good example of what I was trying to explain.
As
Where
a DM, I would like to know, are you a good person doing horrific acts, or an evil person just doing horrific acts to say he's doing good?
no, okay.
Hang on for a second, you guys. Twinkie was trying to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
When was the last time you had a good campaign?
Personally, I think I should just play evil campaign because it looks like there's an actual market for it. But oddly enough, this is a decently good campaign, and so far I've only had like 3 players that are evil. Wait, 4. Hold on, 5. Wait, hold on, 6 maybe.
You probably already covered this, but I'm literally late to the party. First thing you want to do is come to that player out of the game, because everybody knows punishing the players in-game does not work.
Well, it does if it's implemented properly.
Yeah.
But
And if
I've
you're not
the
punishing, so long as you're not punishing them for shit that they did outside of the game.
Yeah, no, make sure to divide those two
Yeah.
separately.
Right. No, to answer your question, the Corgi as a character is a my concept of the Corgi is that it is a good character that is, well, he's not dumb, but it's more like he doesn't care how he
You
achieves
have
the
no
good.
insight.
It's
You're not dumb. You have no insight. You're
Right.
oblivious.
It's more of, for the Corgi, the ends justify the, the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
So-
technically, by my book, would say you're evil aligned.
Yeah, so I guess you'd fall under more like the lawful evil category. But the thing is, he's not doing these things for himself. He's doing them
True.
to help others. Now, what he's doing is super messed up.
Yeah, like, it's dude, it's on that line where it's so messed up. I don't know if it is selfish or selfless anymore.
Well, that's the thing. The Corgi honestly does not care for himself. He will gladly sacrifice himself to
Technically-
save others.
Oh,
So
doggy.
technically, you would be neutral because you're on that lovely fine line, like lawful neutral.
Oh, it's a-
But when you look like, holy shit.
It's a very fine line that I ride as a player with that character.
Yeah, but remember, your punishment for doing certain acts in a certain force. Now, every nature god has a gun pointed at you.
Well, and then he played into that though, because when we were being attacked by the zombies, he straight up insulted the nature gods, like, "Hey, these
Yes.
zombies said you suck.
But-
Show up."
I believe Godchild's issue is not role-playing characters, but more of metagamers.
Right, and that's
Because if you have a good role player, all these punishments and whatnot are meaningless because they would role play into it.
right. But to
But
cut,
if you're a character that's doing anything willy-nilly and ignoring that, I would put you in the category of metagamer, where you're doing something that either sounds fun or is best beneficial to you. Like
So-
you're trying to work the system into their
so the way
I got no word for the next part.
So the way that I circumnavigate metagamers is, what I'll do is, let's say I need an orc, right? Just using a random example. I need an orc. Now, a metagamer reads the monster manual, knows their strengths, their weaknesses, their intelligence, and all
I
that,
know.
right?
I've played with people like that before.
What I do is, let's say I need an orc. Okay. Well, the thing is, yeah, you have 5e orcs, but then I can look at other platforms or other
If you're
media.
playing a 5e game, do not put down Pathfinder orcs.
No, what I'm getting at,
I had a DM do that, and it nearly wiped us.
what I'm getting at is to circumnavigate metagamers, you need to throw things at them that they're not expecting. Like, my last campaign, we didn't have metagamers. Everyone did really well. But, like, the Mimic was a great example, right? Everyone's used to Mimics being chests or coins or
I had a
whatever.
Mimic lover as a character once.
What's the thing? Nobody expected a Mimic to be basically a person. But the thing is, Mimics, according to D&D lore, can mimic anything. They're not restricted to inanimate objects. They just choose.
Not enough in Pathfinder lore, it's restricted to their age.
Well, so what I did was I just turned it into a human, sort of a humanoid as a quote-unquote true form, right? Now, when it comes to metagaming and cutting down on it, you have to throw things that your party doesn't expect. Let's say they know that green dragons spit poison. But what they don't know is somebody found a red dragon and spray painted them green.
You see, I actually did something different. I just implemented a green dragon into the game, and it does pestilence, disease, and illness.
Right.
It gave everyone who failed their con saves the plague effect,
But that's what I'm talking about.
You're doing that.
which ignores your immunity to diseases.
Go ahead, Twinkie. Sorry.
No,
was saying if you're gonna make a pestilence dragon, if you don't fail to save, you should have it do exhaustion, and the players might realize, oh, the more we're hit, the worse this fight is gonna be.
Right. Well, what I was getting at is you kind of basically took the same concept. It's you know that your players expect Green Dragon to spit poison. So instead of it having spit poison, you had it spit pestilence. You're following the same train of thought. If you're trying to cut down on
They
metagaming,
haven't met the dragon yet. That was just their kobolds.
no, what I'm saying is you have to throw things at. If they're metagaming, you have to throw things at them that they have no way to prepare for. Like, they're
Yes, but that might be unfair for the rest of the role players in the group, though.
maybe at the same
Role players will
time.
usually play along,
Well,
technically.
that's the thing. At the same time, a good role player is going to roll with the punches.
Yes.
And as a DM, you should be focusing on making sure that the combat is. So, I have a rule. Every encounter that my players come into is winnable. Now, the odds of winning may
I'm not good at that part.
may be low, but they are winnable, right?
I'm not good at calculating that. So how do you give advice to that?
So when it comes to calculating that, what I do is I'll throw a variety of things at my players the first couple sessions to see how they move. Like, I might throw a batch of zombies at them. I might throw a dragon at them, or something of that nature.
Corgi, I
Yes.
sent a 10,000 HP creature at them, which they killed in 3 turns.
Here's the thing. Did that creature have any sort of buffs or immunities?
Yes.
Because,
It also had a force field.
see, here's the thing. You...
They dropped a rock on it,
well, that's...
and then dropped the person on it, which then that guy exploded. Ignore that a person died.
Well, what I'm getting at is
That-
you're going to have those moments where your players outthink you, right?
I remember that session, that fight. My character got shredded by the diamond shrapnel.
I mean,
Yep.
I had a campaign where it was a Roman or Greek, I can't remember, themed campaign where the players were fighting against this enemy, and this enemy was wiping the floor with them. One of the players decides, I'm going to set up a prayer. And I'm like, okay, you're going to pray to your god, that's fine. He's like, no, I want to pray to Paribus. And Paribus is the Greek god of, how do I put this in Twitch-friendly terms? Male anatomy. Okay? So, he says, no, let me finish. So he rolled, he passed the roll, the DC. His prayer was a straight insult to this god. Right? Now,
I applaud.
here's the thing. Paribus is known as being very egotistical and easy to anger. Right? So he showed up. He's like, who's talking crap? Right? He rolls again for deception and says, I'm just repeating what he said about you, pointing to the enemy that was wiping the floor with them. What does Paribus do?
Man, brilliant.
Inflicts him with disease. I'm putting it as mildly as I can. Inflicts him with disease, crippling disease. Okay? So they won the fight. Because the enemy literally cannot get up again.
Good. I
No.
have to applaud that player. That's an epic move.
It was slick. That's my point. It was
brilliant.
slick. But that's the thing. He wasn't metagaming. He was just playing into the character. Because he's like...
Great role player.
Because he was, in that campaign, he was a devout follower of the gods. So he just played into it, right?
Now, if he was a follower of a trickster god, the trickster would ward him. But if he was following another god that doesn't like tricks like that, I would actually still punish the player for doing it. well, not player, the character itself, because
Right.
you did something against, probably not against the character, but against the god you worship.
Now, again,
If they were a worshiper.
to keep it in with alignment, I do think that character traits do matter. So, like, I'll use Parabus as an example again. As a god, he's depicted as being easy to anger, egotistical, full of himself, right? Because he's literally the god of male anatomy,
Botry?
and, all that comes with that. Like, he is literally the Greek god equivalent of an Alpha Chad. Like, you get what I'm saying? He's that guy. No one else really likes him very much, according to...
Alpha bro.
Yes. So he's that guy. He's the god of those guys, right? So...
Still got worshippers, apparently.
So... So, playing into that character, it's like, as a DM, you guys understand this because you're a DM too. So it's like, you also have to play into the flaws and character traits of your NPCs. An NPC that's egotistical or easy to anger is, when you directly insult them, is not going to take that lying down. They're going to be angry and react accordingly, right?
Well, if you remove an alignment system and replace it with a personality system, which technically already exists too.
Right.
That's why I was pointing to Celesta's alignment system, because it's actually based off of your personality.
And I think...
I sent you a picture of it, actually.
Well, I
I
think...
posted everyone, except Twinkie. I can post it to him if he wants it.
Well, I think...
What is it? I zoned out.
I think completely switching over to a personality system in Godchild's
Not
case
completely,
would
but you have
probably be
your own
helpful.
thing. But if you don't want really an alignment system, then, well, if you're... Okay. For example, I actually do have alignment damages. Okay?
Right.
If you have a barrier that protects against evil, you're an evil creature, you can't get through the barrier. I have mechanics in there to prevent alignments from hitting you. So
Right.
that's why alignments are in. But if you don't have any of those supported systems for that alignment, then there's almost no need for it. Like Twinkie.
Well,
DJ said.
the only reason why I think alignment does kind of matter is because there are spells, enchantments, cantrips, things of that nature that specifically target certain alignments.
Yeah.
So if you completely do away with those alignments, you completely do away with those spells, or you have to rewrite them.
But technically speaking, protect against or detect evil or protect against good and evil is based off of species categories, not the alignment in 5e.
Well, that's not the only spell.
Pathfinder it is, but I haven't actually seen any proper alignment abilities and spells in 5e. In 3.5, yes. In 4th edition, yes, but not 5e.
Mostly AoE spells. Like in my last campaign, the paladin had I believe it was a spell that was an AoE that would hit. Huh?
Are you talking about Divine Sense or something else?
Divine Sense doesn't actually sense good and evil. It actually senses if you're, what was it, fiend.
It actually does
Undead.
sense alignment.
Yes, it senses alignment. But no, it was an AoE spell that they thought about using until they realized that certain members of the party would also be hit, so they didn't use it. But that's my point. So if you completely do away with the alignment system, there are certain spells that you're going to have to be aware of would either have to be rewritten or thrown out. Now, what I think...
keep my alignment system in so I keep those spells because I like the flavor of the spells.
Right.
But I said earlier, if you remove those mechanics, then there's no need of it.
Right. Now, if Godchild wants to keep traditional, what I would say he should do is focus on the personality traits. Have them play their personality. Because if they play... Here's the thing. If they play to their personality... Huh?
Domino.
the issue is, he said they aren't playing to set it. So even if he changed out systems and the player didn't play with the system originally, they're most likely not going to play with the new system either.
Well,
Yeah, it'll be just like a repeat of Valesta, which
Who
You should
ignored
remember
both
dealing-
alignment system and personality system.
here's the thing.
you should remember that from when they were trying to be part of your game before.
Well,
One of their flaws was they'll get angry and eat you. Downright eat you whole. Never happened.
here's the thing. If you
Then he got pissy when you made it happen.
Yes,
here's the thing.
despite it being
If-
directly their flaw.
As a DM,
Anyway,
you have to be assertive.
Yeah,
Like, I know this is cringy to say.
that was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn, sir.
But-
I know.
As a dungeon master, you have to be willing to step in and be like, no, you need to play to your character traits or you need to change them. And you have to be firm on that.
When all this thing happened before, I wasn't as firmed as what you're suggesting. Later
What-
on, I got better firmed and downright removed players because of issues.
But this isn't a shot at you. What I'm saying is,
Well, I'm
God-
saying it's needed. I'm agreeing with you.
no, I'm saying Godchild is facing this issue. The easiest way I can think of is one, if the player just won't conform and do what they need to do as a player, then respectfully you tell them, look, man, I either need you to play to your character or I'm going to find a new player.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, I don't personally like kicking people off my table,
Oh, it's painful.
but I've done it.
It is painful. So
I needed to hear it.
Well, here's the
Was it-
thing.
I can't remember. Was it you, Twinkie, that I removed?
he was one of the players,
removed,
but
not for that.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I know you weren't removed for that. I think it was due to scheduling.
Now,
yeah.
Not true, yeah.
no,
I remember I removed someone for scheduling. I just couldn't remember who.
Now, I personally remove players for a variety of reasons, right? I've had players, as bad as the Corgi is, okay, and I will admit the Corgi's bad, but as bad as he is, I've had players do way worse, and when I looked at them and said, WTF, they looked at me and said, well, that's what my character would do. Yeah, they were done. They were off my table. Now, I'm not going to go into what they did, because I'm not trying to get struck down, but
I
it was bad.
only
we
allow my
can-
players to do it's everything goes martial arts. That's my game.
Oh,
Could I
We-
say- okay.
um,
Sorry.
We can explain that story better to you after the podcast ends.
Yeah.
If you're interested.
Yeah, it was bad.
Dragon.
that was real
Yeah,
bad.
I'm not gonna. That's why I said everything goes martial arts. So I don't go into full detail what's allowed in my game.
Now, for
Be
me,
bad.
one thing I do too, and this is for anyone listening, they actually have a what's called a consent form for D&D. Now, you don't have to implement this. Now, me as a DM,
I personally don't like them.
so, well, the reason why I like them, most things you can do, I'm cool with. There are certain things that I just don't tolerate, right?
Yeah.
Just flat out don't tolerate against other PCs or NPCs. Just, I don't tolerate
No,
it.
it makes sense. If it's any other DM, I would suggest it. The reason I don't care for them is because I've been in games where it's been so restrictive, I couldn't even roleplay. No one could roleplay their character.
Right, but here's the thing.
It
So
wasn't
the
to the extreme of it.
so the consent form for me acts like a guideline, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, the next campaign I'm going to be running is a horror-themed campaign, which means
Ooh.
I'm not holding back. Like, it's going to get bloody. It's going to get, there's going to be some dark humor, dark things involved. At the same time,
I've played only one horror game before. I hope you do well.
what I'm saying is, at the same time, there are certain things that I just don't tolerate, just on a personal level. Certain things that I went through I don't need to get into it on Twitch. Things that I went through as a young person. So, I don't tolerate that thing in my fantasy games. Does that make sense?
Understandable. It is in the end up to the DM.
So, and some players can make the oh, you're restricting. No, I want it to be a good, healthy environment
if
for
the
everyone.
player feels like they're too restrictive, they should leave.
Right.
I did. Okay. I have left campaigns because I felt too restrictive. It's that simple. That's why the DM tells the players the rules. If you bring out a consent form, that's how you play. Everyone signs up. Whoever wants to play works with it.
So,
And that's how it works.
with the
That's why
consent
I go
form,
That's why I don't suggest my game to like most people I know.
no, with the consent form that I use, it's not mandatory. But if you don't fill it out, and then later you complain, it's like, well, you should have filled out the consent form.
No. See, if you
actually-
don't fill out that consent form and complain later, yeah, no, that's on them. I might not like it, but sir, dude.
Honestly,
And
one of my
I've had that happen.
house rules is if you don't fill out the form, you don't get to be at my table.
Yeah, that's why I filled out the form for you. I agreed to your rules.
Well, for me, it's just one of those things where the reason why I like it, one is as a DM, it kind of reins me in. So I had a player that didn't like a specific word. And that word would cause, because they had a phobia around that word. Not a big deal. I just substituted it for something else that meant the same thing.
See, the problem with me is if I hear that word, I am more likely to use it. The reason I go with everything rolls and all that, though, I somehow can't stop myself from doing that.
Well,
Like, I will
That's the
push
source.
you to see how far you go. That's my personality.
now
That's why I say my game's not for everyone.
right, which is fair.
I will avoid certain topics if it's too bad. Like, I will describe a scene, and usually before I finish the scene, the person doing said scene is dead by players. Like,
Now-
it won't happen too often. I won't
Right.
purposely dump it down unless it's the theme of the campaign.
Right. And,
Like
and
John Tarn can
but that also plays,
or somebody.
like I said, it also plays into as a DM. You also have to, again, as a DM, if you're expecting your players to roleplay, you have to roleplay.
Yes.
You have to,
I'm getting better at that.
like I said,
think.
if you want your
You definitely
characters,
are.
if you want your players to play to their alignments or their character traits, whatever you use, your NPCs also need to follow that same guideline.
I
And
know. I put basic personality types down for each of my NPCs.
well, that's the thing. So unfortunately, Godchild left before I thought about that, because I wish he was still here, because I would have asked him, like,
This is
as a
this is how
DM,
me and
are you
this is how me
playing?
and a few other DMs play it.
Well,
Whatever affects you affects the NPCs.
right.
Yeah. Also,
You share rule sets.
Speaking of Godchild, though, he might be lurking in chat. He doesn't have an account at the moment for
Okay.
Twitch. But if not, we can reach out to him at a later point and talk to him about it off stream.
Okay. Now, like I said, it's just one of those things where if you are expecting your players to play to their alignment, character traits, whatever, and roleplay, you as a DM also need to do the same thing. And
Treat others how you wish to be treated.
so for me, this is how I run it, right? Because a lot of DMs are really surprised about how much homebrew I allow. They're like, wow, dude, that's crazy.
Nothing but homebrew.
But here's the deal. Anything I let my players do, the enemies can do.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I kind of... All the players that have said that they're willing to play my new campaign when it's ready to start, they all were made aware of this.
Yep.
So it's like anything you can do, they can do. Not all of them, obviously. But
Yeah, so if you choose an OP class, the rest of them have it too. Shit.
not all of them. That's my point. Not all of them are going to be. You know what I mean?
The OP class I know of offhand is the Master one. That is OP shit.
Because and it's one of those things where, in order to keep the game balanced, because in my last campaign, all of the players had a lot of fun. The RP went well. Everyone enjoyed the campaign. The only complaint I got was that combat was kind of boring because they kind of got to the point where they were walking through combat.
My kit players are currently walking through combat, but I will throw in things that have different mechanics to it, which will... they can easily destroy it, but it will trump them up.
Right.
Like,
I'll be honest, my response to
like
the whole
9...
dragon...
The dragon... The Cobalt one trumped up my players despite they slaughtered them with ease.
Yeah,
So
the
taking
whole
hostages.
dragon thing for the next session. I don't think I said it aloud, but I thought to myself, "Ah, for fuck's sake."
What? You don't like getting plagued?
I'm one of the ones that passed the saves.
Yeah. But no, for that event, I had 9 wobbly bandits, in which each of them was 3 kobolds in a trench coat. So you get a huge
Well,
yippee.
but like getting back to the topic, it's he wants his players to roleplay. Well, the thing is, if he's doing all the things I recommended, he's roleplaying. He's kind of utilizing a system of, let's say, rewards and punishments for role-playing / not role-playing.
Well, the first thing you should do is talk to the player directly.
Yeah. First thing.
Like,
Now, let's say they agree, yeah, I'll do that, blah, blah, blah. And then, as you're playing, they revert back to their old ways. Well, you gently guide them back onto the path. And the way that I would recommend that he does that,
how do you gently guide them back to the path?
you have the NPCs or enemies act accordingly. Meaning,
Well, yeah, but how is that gentle?
because you don't have to just automatically slaughter them for it. What you can do is literally have, it's more like, oh, look, it's the consequences of my actions.
Yeah.
And, or like, let's say they keep acting more and more evil. Well, you can get to the point where the BBEG, or, whatever equivalency he has in his campaign, starts referencing them as literally the reason why he's doing what he's doing, or she.
Well, no. How about this? You have the BBEG recruit that player into their rings and be a spy for the
Or that,
BBEG.
and that's if he's okay with PvP.
Well, yeah, that's very good with PvP, but
Because that can be a slippery slope, depending. But that's actually not a bad compromise. You want to play an evil character because
player it works fine.
he could even talk to that player and say, look, you want to play a character that's evil but pretending to be good? Because here's the thing, an evil character can still do good deeds in order to keep his cover, right? It doesn't make him any less evil. It's just that they're willing to be a goody two-shoes if it means accomplishing their goals.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting mechanic he could implement.
You can have a spy mechanic as well without implementing PvP.
Right.
It's a bit touch and go. Like, I'm not sure how to do it exactly myself, but I know there is a method.
Well, the thing
There's
is,
a method for everything.
the only thing is, and this is no disrespect towards him, I don't know how experienced he is as a DM. So
He did. I can say he's more experienced than I am.
In order to know your actual limits, you have to implement it.
right. So I think it's
Like,
just one of those things
I
he has to
didn't know
play
my
with.
limits of how many players I could have until I had too many players.
I think
My bad.
I think this last
Fuck
campaign
you.
was I think this last campaign was probably my largest group of players in a long time. I think it was like 7.
Yeah, I think it started off at 13 though.
But that's what I mean. It's doable. Now I will say this to any DMs out there. As someone that did this basically with paper and pen, would not recommend. It is a nightmare to keep track of everything on paper and pen. Now, if you have Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, some sort of online way of managing your
Actually,
games, huh?
Personally, pen and paper is not bad.
It is for
depends on how
me
your brain
when
works.
you have to pause combat to do math with a calculator. When you could have had a
Oh,
computer.
You're talking about calculations, not story-wise.
Story wise, it's fine if you don't ever want to do combat. But if you're trying to do combat, and the thing with large groups of players is the only combat that really works effectively, in my opinion, is waves.
I thought you were referring to story and role play, not mechanics. I
Yeah.
understand mechanics.
No, mechanically, it's a lot easier to manage a large group of players on a computer-based system like Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 or one of those systems. It's a lot easier to keep track of.
Is it just Fantasy Grounds? Because Roll20, you set the manually input all the programming codes.
Oh, okay, then just Fantasy Grounds then, I guess. But
No, Roll20 is still good. You just have to put in the work to get it working right.
the point that I'm making is that if you have a large group of players...
At the same time, there's a learning curve with Fantasy Grounds as well.
Oh, I'm well aware of that.
It's not as sharp as the other one. It's still sharp.
What'd you say, Twinkie?
There's a tabletop simulator. You can do it on that.
Oh yeah, that one as well. There's a few games out there trying to actually allow you to do it easier. There's a VR tabletop one. Then there's one the Robbie had. I forget what it's called. But you can build your own maps within it. Like, it looks like a board game.
But
that one you still have to program the mechanics in.
Right. But, like, back to what I was saying, it's, like I said, I don't know how experienced he is as a DM, and I don't know, like, how he's running his game. I don't know if it's paper and pen, and they're meeting up every week. I don't know. Because face-to-face is a totally different dynamic than over Discord.
Oh, yeah.
I can actually answer that question.
Face a lot easier.
I can actually answer that question. Most of his campaigns are like Star Wars, which the Star Wars system he was using was based off of 3.5.
The superior system.
And then from there, most of the time, we were trying to meet up in person, but we had one player that lived too far away, so he was always through Discord.
So,
he's actually part of the. He's actually part of both of your games, the upcoming one that Domino's running and the current one that you're running, Dragon.
Wait, what?
Earthlock.
Lockdown's in my game?
No, one of the players that was part of that game, the one that had to be through Discord.
And like I said, there's no issue with running it through Discord. What I'm trying to get at is, me personally, if you sat me in a room with somebody, it's a lot easier to gauge their reactions and talk to them than it is over Discord.
Agreed, but some games are, like, my game's not possible doing that.
Which is fine. What I'm trying to get at with him...
One's possible, one's not.
What I'm trying to get at is the point that depending on how he's running his games is going to also affect the advice that I give. Because you can talk to the player one-on-one and stuff like that, I prefer in person just because it's easier. But if that's not possible for whatever reason, then it's one of those things where maybe FaceTime them, maybe Facebook video call or something. But whatever works for him. But it's like, look, if it's just one player that's being a problem, then you need to address that one player. If it's all of your players are being a problem, then that's more. It could be more of a reflection of your style as a DM. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying anything negative about them.
It might be also the reflection of your players.
Right. And it could also be that.
I've had players on and off. I've had ones that are good. I have ones that are mostly good than not. I'm actually pretty lucky for getting mostly decent players. So.
And that's the other thing too, is what's the experience level of the player? Are they someone that's played D&D since they were in high school? Are they someone that picked up a D&D book last week? You know what I mean?
For examples, like my decent ones, my original band of decent ones were all newbies. Absolutely, they knew nothing about anything. Okay? Except for maybe some experience in the past.
Right.
As for one of my horrible ones, they also had no experience.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because the experience level of the DM and the experience level of the player kind of play a part because... Yeah, go ahead.
I was... the one that was with the newbies, decent players, was me I wasn't new at it. I was a veteran, except I created my own system in which I was using the newbies to test it with. I found many flaws. But, I was basically creating a new system while they were learning a new system.
Well, and that's another thing, too.
So I have heard one of those players that became a DM now.
Now, and that's another thing, right? D&D, in and of itself, is not a perfect system. I don't think there is a perfect system.
I'm still searching for one. Personally, I prefer the Star Wars system, at least with their dice mechanics.
No, I
forget what it's called.
The reason why I bring this up is it's one of those things where people have to understand D&D rules, like combat, all that, were written by people that probably never went to combat. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like...
No.
Think of it like Hollywood.
D&D combat works as is because you can't implement real-time combat on a tabletop.
I understand that. Possible. What I'm saying is, as a DM and as a player, you have to be aware that, hey, there are certain things that are exaggerated or skipped over or whatever, right?
It's a game. You're shooting fireball like a minigun. Of course it's over-exaggerated.
I understand that. What I'm getting at is, and the reason why this matters as a DM for you to pay attention to is because it's like you're going to get that player eventually. It's like, well, that's not how that works, or blah, blah, blah. And I
know what you're talking about.
And it's one of those things where it's like, as a veteran, when I watch a Hollywood movie and I see the military uniforms and they're out of whack, like, the ribbons are wrong, or like, okay, a good example was, have you seen the movie That's My Boy? With Adam Sandler?
Definitely not.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know Adam Sandler.
So
I haven't watched all the movies.
So the guy in the movie, he wasn't like actually a real Marine in the movie. He literally was a guy pretending to be a Marine in the movie. But that guy literally made my brain hurt because his uniforms were out of whack. He had the wrong chevrons on the wrong uniforms. The ribbon placement was wrong. Like, all these things were wrong, right?
Well, that's usually why I ask people who actually know them in order to get the correct information. That's why I usually don't describe people's uniforms, because I have no etiquette with any of that, what you just described.
What I'm saying is, and this goes back to my earlier statement, just like Hollywood movies are written by people that were probably never in the military, or probably never a mechanic, or probably never insert whatever the main protagonist of the movie is. They probably were never hunted by werewolves. It's
Well-
that what I'm getting at is D&D falls in that same category. So you have to understand that there's give and take, right? One way that I try to mitigate that is I will try to learn everything I can about insert whatever topic.
Well, as an example of realism, right? Because I like my realistic games. But one of the players I have is a stickler for measurement, in which I have no depth perception, so I kind of suck the depth part. But they want exact distances, exact time frames, and exact everything. I went, dude, stop.
Well, here's the
He said,
thing.
no, do that. He's so bad at time.
Let's take a. Okay. So, I like using this example because I'm doing a horror themed campaign coming up.
That's your next one?
And I'm a fanatic for horror movies, and like John Tonner can attest to this. I know a lot of
Hold up.
random.
Are you the cheesy horror movies? The Gorefest horror movies? Hack and slash? Scary or otherwise?
Yes.
I'll put it this way. One of his favorite scenes, I think, would go against TOS.
Yep.
What movie?
Alien. Was it Alien Requiem?
The Wreck? Is that the newer one?
No.
Okay.
It's
No, that's
with,
Prometheus. The newer one was...
no. It was the one with the Predalien.
I-
You remember the Alien versus Predator movie? Is the one that came right after that one.
Because I remember one where it's an pyramid in the Antarctic. That's the
Yeah.
only one I can recall offhand.
That was the that was one before the movie I'm referencing.
Okay. Well, I don't think I haven't seen the whole thing. I've caught them on sci-fi occasionally.
Now, like I said, as a horror fanatic, there's something called the suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of random facts that could. All of my friends refer to me as the encyclopedia of useless information, right?
Ah,
So,
your trivia.
yeah, I have a weird mind for trivia, but I'll give you an example. Like, you know those scenes in like Walking Dead, like
Yep.
2-3 years after the apocalypse when they're siphoning gas from cars. Yeah, no, all that gas would literally be unusable. Like in a realistic, say, zombie campaign, you probably have about a year or two worth of gas before gas becomes unusable because it sat, it wasn't treated, they didn't upkeep it.
Well, yeah, because we have a tractor in the backyard and we can't get it running because it's been sitting too long.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, in Walking Dead,
Not to
You-
mention the batteries are draining cold weather.
here's the thing. In Walking Dead, nobody blinks an eye when Glenn or insert whatever character is siphoning gas. Now, most people don't bat an eye. They're just like, whatever, he's siphoning gas, it's the apocalypse, they
Also,
have
most
to get...
people don't realize any of these trivia.
Well,
Technically not trivia here. Useful facts.
here's the thing. Even those that do, right, like myself, we understand that's not how that works. Am I going to hate Walking Dead because they're unrealistic in their apocalypse scenario? No.
One of my more favorite movies, well, not favorite, but it's on my top 50, is The Core. And a few days ago I rewatched it, and me and a bunch of other people are critiquing how that not worky like that.
Or like,
If you have a substance that can take the pressure, a crack in it shouldn't crush it. It should crush everything on the inside, not the shell itself.
or like another good example is movies that like using grenades and they make like massive explosions. Like, no, that's not what a grenade does. It's an explosion, yes. Is it going to take out a city block? No.
Depends on what thing drops, but no, not a grenade normally.
And that's my point. Now, as a viewer of the movie, am I going to get mad at the movie for getting it wrong? No, I'm enjoying the movie. And that's my point. And that's the same thing with D&D. So if you deal with players like that, it's one of those things. It's now on some level what I do is because I do prefer more realism. What I'll do
It might be my fault for preferring more realism that I get the players who do that. So it might be on me.
Well, here's the thing. Because I prefer more realistic campaigns, right? What I do as a DM is I'll research and double check and triple check that, yeah, that's a thing, or yeah, that's possible. Like the whole thing we talked about earlier about the mirror neurons in humans and how some humans are theorized to have some form of being psychic ability. That's not hard science. There isn't a scientist out there saying this is a thing, this is a fact. It's a theory, right?
Hard science no existy.
But that's my point. What I like to do is I incorporate sort of real life concepts into my D&D campaigns, to try to get the.
You should go down fringe sciences as well. Those are fun.
Well, it's just one of those things.
The psychic ability is basically a fringe science there.
But that's my point. It's one of those things. It helps keep the player engaged
Or metaphysical.
because they feel like they're in a world that could be real, right? Even if it's a completely fictional setting. Because in my new campaign, it takes place in modern times with mythical creatures. But those mythical creatures still have to play by real-world rules to a certain extent.
If I'm playing a game that's based off of the real world with mythical creatures in it, there's also a TV show which I originally thought was based off of real life, but it's basically London with mythical creatures as well.
But that's my point. It's
Decent inspiration for you.
But that's my point. It's just one of those things is you want to make sure your players are engaged. If you're having issues with roleplay and all that, a lot of time that stems from disengagement when a player is not engaged with what's happening. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I also don't know how to engage them into it.
It's one of those.
I have in my history a few players that are, as you said, not engaged, but I don't know how to engage them because the things they're engaged in turns off everyone else.
Well, what you want to do, in my opinion, is you want to find a happy medium, right? So, let's say you have a player that is weirdly into cars, right? Just as an example. They're really into mechanics and all that.
Yeah.
Well, you could throw things in that are story relevant to play to that character's strength. And that's the thing. As a DM, you have to sort of balance your story and your gameplay mechanics not to the characters, but you do want to tailor it to a certain extent. Because you want them engaged in the story.
I have set up things in the game to place engagement in them. They just be oblivious that it exists and walks away. I can put in like 15 different paths for the whole party, and most of the party usually goes down that one path as the other player just ignores them and says there's nothing to do.
Well, in that situation, okay. So, in that situation, does this player suffer some form of main character syndrome, or is it just disengagement?
It's disengagement. I've gotten down to disengagement, not main character syndrome.
Okay. Now,
it used to be both main character and NPC syndrome.
So
I think it's mostly NPC syndrome at this point. But I'm also talking about more than one player, not just that one.
Now, for those that are listening in, just sort of a definition thing. Main character syndrome, to those that don't know what it is a player that believes they are the main character in the story NPC syndrome is a character that acts like your typical NPC in a video game. Spoken when spoken to.
They are there.
Doesn't really, they're there. They don't engage too much. They're very limited. Now, there's different ways to handle that.
They don't engage until you engage.
Right. Now, usually I see NPC syndrome in new players that may be nervous or they've never played D&D before. You know, which if that's the case, you as
They're
a
not a new
DM,
player.
no, I get that.
They were more engaged when they were new.
As a DM, you want your characters or your players to feel comfortable and play to their characters, right? So
Yeah.
what I encourage people to do is just figure out, and this is one of those reasons why reading your players' character sheets matters. Because you want to see what they care about. What does the player, or not player, what does the character want?
As a player myself, I'm really bad at putting down any of that information on my character sheet. Like, I downright, not ignore it, but just forget about it. And unfortunately, one of the players that I'm talking about has very little on their character sheet and everything in their head.
Well, that's the
Same
thing.
issue I have as
And-
well,
And that's fine.
but I try to talk to the DM about it.
That's fine. If you are in that situation, then what you want to do is at least talk to your player and figure out what their headspace is as, you know, as a character. Like, even if they don't write it down, just be like, hey, does your character have, like, any sort of goals in life? Is there any sort of thing that your character is trying to achieve? You know, does he want glory? Does he want wealth?
They
Like,
don't
what is
know.
his end goal?
You don't know.
And that's the thing. Even if they don't know, okay, then you, as you play and the character does do things, you can kind of make your assumptions, your educated assumptions, based on their actions. Oh, they're really interested in collecting, I don't know, random magical objects.
That's what I thought I was doing at one point, so I implemented something to get their attention, and then,
And that's the thing. It's not that, you know, if that's
I'm
the
a rat
case.
in a maze and I can't find the goddamn cheese.
If you're in that situation and you cannot find your way out of it, okay, I get that. Now, as a DM, you have to decide for yourself if that again, it comes down to if that player is going to be a problem and they're not willing to compromise, they're not willing to RP, they're not willing to play their character, then you as a DM need to tell them, look, man, I need people that are engaged. You know, to a certain point, it's up to you because you have to worry about the overall health of the group, whether that's mental or whatever. Because here's the thing.
I'm worried about their mental health.
Well, here's the thing. If you have a player that's not engaged, doesn't care, interrupts other characters on their turns, then what ends up happening eventually is that the rest of the party is going to follow suit because they're going to get tired and fed up of it. You as a DM, your job is to play referee. So if they're not willing to engage and they're not willing to play along, then unfortunately, maybe you're just not the right fit for that player, and that's perfectly fine. Like you said earlier, your campaigns are not for everyone, right?
Yeah, no, my campaigns are not for everyone. It's not for most people.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It's okay as a DM to be like, this, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. And if they ask why, you explain it to them and say, look, we spoke about this. I'm trying to engage with the story. I'm trying to make sure that the story is compelling and that everyone is engaged and
I do
involved
need to
in
work
it.
on my own story.
What was that?
And I do, in fact, need to work on my own story. I'm not very good at the storyline type of campaigns.
which is fine, and that just comes from, honestly, that comes for me because I like writing fiction. I eventually will release my writing and inflict it upon the world, but
Cool. Something else I need to buy. Just to
Well,
fuck with you.
no. But what I'm saying is because I'm used to writing and all that, and I really love, like I said, I really love movies and all those kind of things. It's not that I have a sort of former education, but it's more like
You have experience.
I've experienced because of the work others have put in. So, and that's just one of those things, like, it just comes with time. Like, the more you DM, the more that you play, the more that you will eventually learn how to do those things. Like, I don't. It's kind of crazy to expect your first couple campaigns to be award-winning, Grammy Award-earning successes.
Oh, they will. Most of your campaigns will not be anything like that. I already know that.
And that's and that's the thing too.
I've
is,
had a few already on fire and is burning in the pits of censored.
So,
words.
so here's the thing, right? It's like that TikTok meme where it's like reduce your expectations to 0. It's just one of those things where you just kind of have to, as a DM, you kind of just have to take every game as a learning experience, right? And you also have to remember, it's a game. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyed. You know what I mean? Another thing that I see a lot of DMs struggle with, it's not you versus the player, and it's not the player versus the DM. It's the DM is telling a story. The players are characters in that story. So when you take that approach, I feel like you have a healthier sort of balance amongst your players. So,
Yeah, no, I've been getting better at that as well. That was one of my issues.
which it usually is an issue, especially for DMs that maybe it's the first campaign or the first couple of campaigns. Like for
Or
me,
have a little bit of a god complex.
which is kind of expected in D&D because as sacrilegious as it sounds, the DM more or less kind of acts like the
You
god
are
in
a
their own
god.
story.
You are higher than the gods. You can take a dump on the god's chair and they do nothing.
And it's because you're the one telling the story. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, but at the same time with that, it's the way I look at it is that it puts a lot of pressure. Because here's the thing, because I've had good DMs and I've had bad DMs, and the best DMs that I've ever had, it's not that they let me do whatever I wanted. Like that's not at all how that went down. It's more of they were willing to let me try whatever I wanted to try. Now, whether or not it was possible, that's up to them. But, like, if I was like, hey, I want to steal that guy's shoes. He's still wearing them. I want to steal his shoes. Okay, roll for it. And then it's like, oh, I got a nat 20. Yeah, well...
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think this is our longest podcast to date.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just one of those
Going on
things.
3 hours now.
I'm enjoying it, though. That's the thing. Like, I'm just sitting here talking with my buddies. I mean, I feel like that's the best way to have a podcast. Like,
We should do drinking. No.
I am
good.
at work.
I
I
don't-
cannot do that.
Well, no. One of those off days. But no. Drunken fiasco. Anyway, it is getting late on my end, and I do have to do something else tonight.
All right. Well, I think
Yeah,
we can
so
probably call it here.
I just wanted you to complete
Yeah.
your statement before we did that, though.
Okay. I actually kind of forgot where I was.
Okay, goodbye. Sorry, I didn't
oh.
mean to interrupt your
Oh
statement.
no,
I
no,
just
no. Okay, hold on. So it's one of those things where it's like, the example I gave was when I would try to, as a player, I tried to take someone's shoes while they were wearing them and awake. The DM didn't stop me. The DM was like, go ahead and try. I rolled a nat 20 plus my, modifier, blah, blah, blah. And the DM was like, yeah, well, he still saw you do it because he's literally awake and looking at you as you're stealing his shoes. You know
that's
what I
why I'm
mean?
switching over to Pathfinder rules and how their critical system works.
And that's one of those things where, as a DM, I firmly believe that not every nat 20 means instant success.
Well, in the Pathfinder system, you have to defeat the DC. If you roll a nat 20, right?
Yeah.
It does not mean a success. You have to beat the DC with a nat 20 to get a critical. Or you beat the DC 10 points over you get the higher number than that by 10 points, which is a critical. But if you roll a nat 20, do not beat the DC, it's nothing.
So
You fail.
my whole reason why I gave that example, and this is my advice to any aspiring DM out there, don't stop your players from trying. Let them sort of, as the kids say, F around and find out.
You
Don't stop them from attempting. Let them do their thing, and then kind of guide them based on the results, if that makes sense.
My partner is giving me the evil stare. I think we should do our turn-offs.
All right.
Turn-off.
Well, thank you for everyone that either watched us as we were streaming and or will watch this after it has become available on my Twitch channel and eventually onto the YouTube page I will be making. This is Domino Effect 117 signing off.
Why do you say 117?
Oh, so Domino Effect is my favorite.
Master Chief.
Yes. So Domino Effect is my favorite scientific theory. Because, well, it's the same thing as the butterfly effect, but the butterfly's effect, I just didn't like the name. I thought Domino Effect sounded cooler. And then 117 is Master Chief because Halo was technically, I think Halo was actually the first video game I played outside of like Game Boy, like my first Xbox game at least.
Oh God, I have to think of that.
No, Halo was my first video game I ever played outside
the
of
original
like
Lego Harry
Nintendo.
Potter.
Like
Wait, no. If you're going outside of Nintendo.
Like it was definitely my first Xbox game. I'll put it that way. It was my first Xbox game I ever played. Was Halo 1.
I have to think on what my first Xbox game was. As for Nintendo, that would have to be Playtime.
Oops, sorry. My first Nintendo game was Pokemon Yellow.
Really, Yellow.
Yep.
Finally.
Same here.
We need to do a sign off for John Tar now.
Alrighty,
ninja
thank
ball
you
ready.
guys. Thank you guys for coming out to hang out with us. You can find me over at twitch.tv/Tontaran. I stream as often as I can, given my hectic day job as a truck driver. I'm hopefully going to be streaming on there more often. I'm a VTuber and a variety streamer. Be safe and stay warm. Don't get
And
lost
I am-
in the eternal frost.
Eternal. And I am the nothingness of the void, the pits of despair. Do not exist anywhere.
And as an afterword, just tailing off of John Tarn there. Do not add to or subtract from the current population. And yeah, if you're gonna be stupid, be smart about it. Have a good night.
What?